people managed to save it. A guy's face. 22 years old. Eyes red as a rabbit's, hair sticking out in every direction. He's whispering because he's afraid of waking up. What? He doesn't know himself.
My name is Noah. I'm recording this in case they don't find me tomorrow. If you're watching this, do not go to mile 191 in New Mexico. Ever. Not even during the day. Not even with a weapon. That house, it doesn't stand on the ground. It stands on a number. And numbers, they're alive, man. They're hungry. He brings the camera to his hand. On his wrist, 4 digits. Burned. Like a brand. 4407. A whisper behind him. Noah, time for bed. The lower road is already open. The video cuts out. 23 hours have passed. Noah McCormick still hasn't been found.
My name is Nora. I'm a freelance journalist who decided to get to the bottom of this. And right now it's 2:14 in the morning. I'm sitting in my Chevrolet, in the parking lot of that very gas station, Desert Eye, and my hands are shaking. Because in the rearview mirror, I don't see the empty space behind me. I see a little girl in a dusty dress. She's smiling and counting the fingers on my left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. She whispers. I don't know if I'm getting out of here. But I have to write it all down. While I still can. Chapter 1. An inheritance no one wanted. We all think scary things happen to someone else. 3 weeks ago, my life was normal as it can be for a journalist who investigates disappearances in deserted areas of the U.S. I run a YouTube channel called The Vanished. 870,000 subscribers. My videos average 1.5 million views. Nothing special. I thought I had seen everything: drifters, cult members, serial killers. I hadn't seen this. It all started with a letter from a notary in Gallup, New Mexico. My great-aunt Margaret, whom I'd seen maybe 3 times in my life and always thought was an eccentric hermit, left me a house. Not money. Not a car. A house. With a note in her will, written in a trembling hand. Nora, I'm sorry. I thought I could hold it back. But you can only hold back something that agrees to be held back. Keep the keys or burn them, there's no other way. And never, ever count the steps from the front door to the well. P.S. The red moon isn't time. It's a breath. I laughed then. Poor old lady lost her mind, I thought. I forwarded the letter to my cameraman, Mark, who'd worked with me for 2 years, and said, get the cameras ready. We've got Halloween content. Mark, who was born and raised in Albuquerque, read the letter, and his face went white as paper. Nora, no, he said. Not that house. Any other. Just not this one. You know it? My grandmother, she's Navajo. She calls that house Hosh du Nilchai, dust and breath. When we were kids, she forbade us to even look in that direction. She said the house was a cork in a bottle. If you pulled it out. What comes out? Mark looked at me in a way that made me cold in the July heat. Nothing comes out. Everything stays inside. But you become the door. I didn't listen. I never listen. Chapter 2. The first night. The trap. The house stood at mile 191, where the asphalt ripples like a frozen sea. We arrived on Thursday at 4:44 in the afternoon. Mark later pointed out that entering a scene at that time was a bad omen. I brushed it off. From the outside, the house looked like a typical Victorian manor from the early 20th century that had seen better days. The white paint was peeling, the porch had sunk, one window on the second floor was boarded up from the inside. But something was wrong with it. The geometry. The angles didn't line up. I pressed a level against the living room wall. The bubble was perfectly centered, but the wall looked like it was leaning left. Mark said his ears popped, like on an airplane during takeoff. We set up cameras. 4 of them: living room, hall, kitchen, staircase to the second floor. At 9 p.m., we went live. The title: The Scariest House in America? A Dust Inheritance. Within an hour, we had 12,000 viewers. It was boring. Dusty floorboards. Howling wind. A bat banging against the window. Then, at 11:47 p.m., the viewers in the chat all started typing the same thing. Who's on the stairs? Nora, there's a child behind you. Mark, look at the monitor. We reviewed the footage from the hall camera. Here's what we saw. At 11:44 p.m., out of thin air, without a sound, a figure materialized. A girl. About 8 years old. In a dress they wore in the 1920s. Her hair was in 2 pigtails. She had no face. Just smooth, gray skin, like a mannequin. She walked up to the camera. Leaned in. And whispered into the lens, loud enough for the recording to pick it up. Aunt Margaret didn't listen to us. Now she's with us. The lower road is quiet. But you won't like it there. The chat exploded. 11, 12, 15,000 viewers. I realized this was my chance. I was staying the night. Chapter 3. The number you shouldn't know. At 1:33 a.m., Mark fell asleep in an armchair. I noticed he was counting his steps out loud in his sleep. 1, 2, 3. I woke him up. He opened his eyes and started crying. He said that in the void, they had shown him a number, and now he couldn't stop repeating it. 4407, he whispered. Nora, it's an address. Not a geographical one. A temporal one. Where time breathes, we are all just dust. I didn't understand. But then I found the hiding spot. In the basement, under a floorboard that couldn't be pried up with bare hands. It moved on its own. Exactly at 3:33 a.m., lay an iron chest. Inside, the diary of a little girl named Sarah-Beth Crow. 1921. I read it in front of the camera. 45,000 viewers watched my voice tremble in real time. November 4th. They come when I sleep. They have no voices, but I can hear their thoughts. They say humans are just numbers that learn to be afraid. If you forget fear, you become a number again. Pure. Eternal. They want me to become a pure number. Number 4407. November 12th. I didn't want to, but they showed me the lower road. It's not hell. It's the gap. There, between the floorboards, between the words in a conversation, between heartbeats. Millions of children with no faces. They all once lived in this house. They all counted to 4,407. And then they stopped breathing. The last page, I'm leaving today. Dad, Mom, I'm sorry. But I'm so lonely up here. And down there, thousands of brothers and sisters. We'll wait for the next person who counts wrong. I closed the diary. That's when Mark screamed. He was sitting on the couch, knees pressed to his chest, pointing at his left hand. On his skin, just beneath the surface, without any cut, without any blood, numbers were appearing. As if someone was writing from the inside. 4. 4. 0. I grabbed his hand. Don't let the last digit appear. I yelled. Don't count. Too late, Mark whispered. The final 7 appeared. A bright red, almost black line. Mark looked up at me. His pupils were gone. In their place, gray, dry dust. Your turn soon, Nora, he said in a voice that was hundreds of children's voices layered on top of each other. You already counted the steps when you walked in. You said 8. You should have said 7. You were off by 1 step. Now you're ours. He stood up. Walked to the wall. And stepped through it like it was mist. From the other side came the sound of children laughing, then absolute, dead silence. 30,000 viewers in the chat were all typing the same word, run. Chapter 4. The Desert Eye gas station. I ran 2 kilometers barefoot. The rocks cut my feet, but I didn't feel pain. Because behind me, I heard children's laughter and a counting rhyme. 1, 2, 3, the dust takes thee. 4, 5, 6, no more tricks. 7, 8, 9, now you're mine. 4,407, now you see the lower heaven. I burst into the station. Bilay, an old Navajo man, was sitting behind the counter, drinking coffee, looking at me like he'd been waiting. Nora, he said. I watched your stream. Mark, he walked through the wall. Mark is gone. He became a number. His skin, his bones, his memory, all of it turned to dust and went into the gap. He's part of the lower road now. How do I get him back? Bilay shook his head. You don't. But you can save yourself. The numbers have probably started to appear on you. Show me. I looked at my wrist. 3 digits. 4, 4, 0. The last one hadn't formed yet. The 7 was flickering, like a heat haze on the horizon. You have until sunrise, Bilay said. Don't count anything. Not your steps, not your sips of water, not your heartbeats. If you count to 4,407, you'll open the door. On the other side, millions will be waiting. What do I do with the house? Bilay was silent for a long time. Then he pulled a small, frameless mirror from his pocket. The size of a palm. This mirror doesn't reflect the world. It reflects the number. If you look into it on the threshold of the house, you won't see yourself. You'll see everyone who ever disappeared in that place. And they'll see you. If any one of them blinks, you're saved. If not, what? Then you become one of them. I took the mirror. 40,000 viewers were still watching the live stream. Chapter 5. The Red Moon. I returned to the house at 5 a.m. 2 hours until sunrise. The house had changed. The walls felt soft to the touch, like dry clay. The floors were breathing, I could feel the wood slowly rising and falling under my bare feet. The stairs to the second floor no longer led up. They led down, into darkness that smelled of incense and something sweet. Formaldehyde. The moon shone through the windows. Red. Bilay said it wasn't a satellite. It was an eye. A very old eye, watching numbers become people and people become numbers. I walked to the fireplace. Raised the mirror. And I saw. The mirror's surface filled with faces. Hundreds. Thousands. All of them staring at me with empty eye sockets. Children. Old people. Mark. He was standing in the second row, silently crying dust. Mark. I screamed. Blink. He couldn't. He had no eyelids. I swept the mirror across the room. No one blinked. They just stared. Waiting. And then I noticed a little girl. Different from the others. She had a face. White skin, freckles, red hair. She was standing in the very corner of the mirror and, blinking. Once. Twice. "Who are you?" I whispered. "Sarah-Beth," she said in her mirror voice. I blinked because I'm the only one who still remembers what it's like to be alive. "Help me get out." "How?" "Count to 4,407. Out loud. But don't finish. Stop at 4,406. Then the door will only open halfway. I'll slip through. And you'll close it. What if I make a mistake?" Sarah-Beth smiled. Sadly. "Then you'll take my place. And you'll wait for the next fool with a mirror." I closed my eyes. 35,000 viewers held their breath. And I began to count. Chapter 6. The Count. 1. The silence in the house grew thick as a blanket. 2. Something stirred inside the walls. 3. My feet lost all feeling of the floor. 4. Dust began to fall from the corners. Slowly. Relentlessly. I counted and counted. Each number came with pain. I felt my memory starting to erase. My mother's name. My father's face. My first video on YouTube. All of it turned to dust. 1,203. In the mirror, the children started reaching for me. Through the glass. Through reality. I felt the cold of tiny hands on my shoulders, on my cheeks, on my neck. 2,517. The red moon outside the window began to pulse, like a heart. Or like something pretending to be a heart. 4,400. My voice cracked. I opened my eyes. Sarah-Beth was standing 3 inches from me, no longer in the mirror, but in the actual room. Half transparent. Between worlds. "Come on, Nora," the chat screamed. "Stop." I looked at my hand. The final digit. 4407, the 7 was half-formed. It was alive, writhing like a snake, trying to complete itself. 4,400. 6. I yelled. And stopped. The house exhaled. I can still feel it, the entire manor breathing out through every crack and crevice. The dust rose into the air for a second, then settled. The moon became normal. Yellow. Sarah-Beth smiled at me. "For real this time." "Thank you," she whispered. "Now I can truly leave. Not through the lower road. Through death." She faded like morning mist. I fell to my knees. On my wrist, 3 digits. 440. The 7 was gone. But they didn't disappear. They'll always be with me, reminding me that I came one step away from eternity. Epilogue. Right now. 3:15 a.m. I'm sitting in my Chevrolet in the parking lot of the Desert Eye gas station. Bilay gave me his jacket because I can't stop shaking. There's a filterless cigarette butt between my teeth, but I don't smoke. In the rearview mirror, nothing. Just the desert and the first rays of sun. I finished this text. It'll go in the description of the video that I will upload tomorrow. But there's something I didn't mention on the live stream. Right now, as I was typing the last sentence, I heard a whisper. Not from the house. From my phone. The chat of the closed stream, which I hadn't turned off. One line from a user named dust_4407. You made a mistake, Nora. You didn't count to 4,406. You counted to 4,407. You just said 6, but in your head, you said 7. We hear thoughts. Sarah-Beth didn't leave. She's inside you now. Look at your left hand. Closely. I look. Under the digits 4, 4, 0, where the 7 disappeared, a new one is appearing. Not on the skin. Under the skin. Deeper. Where the body ends and memory begins. And it's not alone. Every time I blink, in the darkness behind my eyelids, I see, for just a fraction of a second, a red moon and thousands of children smiling with lipless mouths. They're waiting. I don't know how long I have left. Maybe years. Maybe days. Maybe the next 47 seconds, as I silently count my own breaths. 1, 2, 3. I have to stop. But I can't. 4. If you made it this far, don't check to see if you have the numbers on your wrist. Better not to know. And never, do you hear me, never count the steps from your bed to your door in a dark room. Because numbers are hungry. And you are just dust that still knows how to breathe. Subscribe to The Vanished. The next video will come out, if I do. The end.